Good evening, YouTube. Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to Doctor Who Fridays, where we are joined by regular guests, including a pack of dogs.
Yes, yes. And by the way, this isn't the phone booth.
Okay. Hello, Coqui Pirate,
Howdy.
and hello, you James 1978.
Hello there, this is James Escroft, you James 1978.
And we have an unusual situation this week, which is that this is my first time watching the Massacre. To give it the full title, The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve. I can't say, but that's why they shortened it. Nobody can say Bartholomew, I think is the right. Yes, The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve, which I'd heard a lot about. It was a difficult recon job. It's the second time there's been a doppelganger for the Doctor, but it's not done in a rather cheesy, messy way. As it was handled in the... It's one of those things, actually, because I was listening to people the other day, because I try and do research for these things to get people's opinions and background stories, and there's some interesting things of note. But I heard people complain that all this adventure does is have the main characters, our avatars, observing history. In fact, on doing Doctor Who, a kind of rival to this show in concept, the woman who's being shown Doctor Who for the first time, she's going through them in order. The Massacre is the first one where she literally fell asleep. I would actually say you didn't fall asleep during Reign of Terror, but you did fall asleep during the Massacre. And claiming that it's only characters witnessing history when, well, no, there's loads go. Well, for one thing, Stephen genuinely believes the Doctor is dead, which I think was, like, quite a big thing for Doctor Who. I don't think that's happened at all before now. Stephen being completely distraught and completely screwed, thinking the Doctor's dead. And then, of course, the Doctor being, I suppose, an example of him being very callous and perhaps hypocritical about the whole changing history thing, again. But yes, okay, this isn't an era of history I know much about. I've heard of the Huguenots. I might have to watch this again to follow it properly, from the point of view of the history of the story. It was maybe I won't say complicated, but I think perhaps warrants a second viewing. Interesting piece of trivia, and I'll mention this because a couple of weeks ago James was saying that it would have been great for the Daleks' master plan to have an Ian and Barbara cameo. This serial was meant to have an Ian and Barbara appearance. It was scripted, but they weren't available. So yeah, we should have seen Ian and Barbara on Wimbledon Common. But obviously, I don't want to run to rush straight to the end of this. But the Wimbledon Common stuff is maybe its own topic. But interesting though, Ian and Barbara were written into this serial. There's one interesting fact of I dare say several. But in any case, I've blathered on. My opinion of the serial. From first viewing, I would say it's a middling Hartnell story. I won't say it blew me away. I won't say... actually, it's the last Doctor Who serial to be written by John Lanzarote, who wrote The Aztecs, who co-wrote Marco Polo, and I think there might be another historical that he wrote. So basically, John Lanzarote wrote the really good historicals of the Hartnell era, but this is his final script for Doctor Who. So a goodbye to John Lanzarote, actually I won't say R.I.P. because I don't actually know if he's still with us. I'll have to check that. But yes, in any case, Coqui, well, you have also just seen the Massacre for the first time, or the Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve for the first time. Your thoughts?
I mean, I started, I'm just like, oh, another reconstruction.
I know.
Yeah, so, that sort of painting, um, the way I see it, and I'll acknowledge that bias. But I didn't find this especially enjoyable. Um, I kind of liked that they were Steven was doing a good job of standing in for the audience and asking the questions that the audience would ask.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what does that mean? So good on him. At least as far as I can tell from his voice, this is some of the better acting. But in terms of the story, yeah, a lot of interesting things are happening, and I guess I wouldn't mind like seeing a show about this. I just don't see why the Doctor and Steven need to be there. And also, you mentioned the Doctor's hypocrisy, which also strikes me. It's like, oh, don't intervene in history, and now he's all up in history. But I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, the Doctor actually, he has a self-serving motive because he just wants to meet a particular scientist, even though by the Doctor's standards, that scientist, who I guess you admire people who live in danger of being called heretics, when they ply their science, or when they research their science historically, but they're still an ant compared with the Doctor, who owns a fucking time machine. I dropped the F-bomb. And then, yeah.
I just remembered he was encouraging the scientists to keep working on something because there'd be some other breakthrough, right? How is this any different from the time meddler who was talking to Leonardo da Vinci about flying machines? Actually, it's very different in that this person would actually go on to do stuff.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, and actually, I thought the ending was a bit strange because the Doctor was kind of saying that you can't undo the massacre, I forget the exact. Is it August 24th? Is the day of the massacre?
Yeah.
You can't undo that. You can't. We're back to you cannot rewrite history. Not one line. But you may have caused that woman's death. And that's insignificant to you suddenly because human life mattered in previous serials. I guess the morality of the Doctor and the morality of Doctor Who is always inconsistent.
Yeah. No, you're reminding me of stuff, I guess, as you're talking. I'm sorry. But that's something that also struck me as really jarring. Mostly because I remember, should I shake the jar? The excuse that they gave earlier for the Doctor's inconsistent morality was that after he met the Daleks, he changed, and he started talking about the value of human life. But here he is again, not caring about that. Why? I don't know. This was a serial I did not really appreciate very much, I guess. Like I said, the acting, the voice, as far as I can tell, the acting seemed pretty decent, but beyond that, it's just...
Aha. And, well, I'll take this to you, James, who I'm sure is champing at the bits. Because you're a big fan of the serial, James.
Yeah, seriously, you can all go and fudge yourselves, especially the woman who fell asleep during it. This is the perfect example of telling a historical story. This actually happened. But whether it's Stephen or us, the audience, we don't need to know anything about the story. It's not just pages and pages of exposition, having everything that happened to explained to us. We are observing it happening. We can see it. We don't need to know all of the backstory. We don't need to know that Holland the Netherlands were a part of the Spanish Empire. We don't need to know about the religious schism between Catholics and Protestants, which was raging across Europe. That everything is revealed to us, and the thing is, it's reduced to an entirely human story. That the rivalry and hatred, the entire conflict between Catholics and Huguenots in France is reduced to the rivalry between the Queen Mother, the Marshal, and the Admiral, the sea beggar. Of course, the sea beggar. The sea beggars was a term for Dutch pirates. At this point in history, the Netherlands were part of the Spanish Empire. The Spanish Empire itself being staunchly Catholic. One of the reasons why one of the excuses that it sought to invade England a few decades earlier, the Armada. So the nicknaming the Admiral the Sea Beggar because he was so staunchly in favour of declaring war with Spain in alliance with the Netherlands in their battle for independence from the Spanish Empire. It's just so wonderful. And yes, far from just merely observing, Stephen is interacting. He is playing a role. He is playing a part. His forming, the relationship he forms with Anne Chaplet, the girl who the Doctor does leave behind to die. It is incredibly touching and beautiful because something which is pointed out during the serial, as a peasant, she is regarded as nothing. The peasants are described as nothing by one of the Huguenot noblemen who was in the service of the Admiral. You think, oh yes, the Catholics and it's the Catholics who are the cause of the problems. Once the Protestants take over, no, the nobles will still treat peasants like something that they just stepped in. The reason why Anne Chaplet is so taken with Stephen is that he is the first person to have ever been kind to her in her entire life. As I say, the relationship between the two of them very much reminds me of the relationship between Richard Mayhew-Dick and Anesthesia in Neverwhere. The fact that it is a burgeoning friendship that is tragically cut short by circumstances beyond their control. And, yeah, it's just that people find history boring, and to be honest, they can all go and fudge themselves.
Well, I might. Obviously, I, as you know, I'm a big fan of the Aztecs, and same writer. You know, history brought to life often by the same writer.
Oh, indeed, he is the only. He is one of the only Doctor Who writers to actually research history and get it right. Little things like King Charles smashing his tennis racket in rage. When he discovered that his friend the Admiral had been shot in an attempted Catholic assassination. This serial has so much, but I do honestly have to wonder: would people give it more time? Would they like it more if it was live action instead of a reconstruction?
So yeah, I mean, the accuracy of this, I know some of it. Well, actually, I've cheated because I've seen the tiny documentary, so I know the tennis racket thing is accurate, but then Reign of Terror was slavishly accurate, and we all agreed that that was dull. Mind you, Reign of Terror was a six-parter. This is shorter, and perhaps the characters are maybe maybe more involved in the story. So I think it's got two things over Reign of Terror. It's not too long, and well, I say better character involvement because this was Stephen's story.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen's more than entitled to be pissed off at the Doctor because the Doctor did fuck all. This was, well, which to be fair, I think was writing William Hartnell out for health reasons. Obviously, Coqui doesn't know that whole story. Although, I do want to point out when we get to the docudrama, it's a bit annoying that they have the TARDIS in flight so there is an inaccuracy there, because they have the TARDIS in flight when the Doctor does his speech. But nonetheless, the speech, which was otherwise beautifully recreated, yes, no one understands like the Doctor. I think maybe that could be a kind of angle that maybe we're judging the Doctor harshly because he is. And he actually references maybe I should go back to my own planet, which was a first for Doctor Who at this point. And so yeah, the Doctor, who I guess if this were new series, sorry Moffat jar sort of, but if this were new series, actually it's more of a Russell T Davies jar because he brought the show back.
Do I need to get another jar then?
Yes, we need lots and lots of different jars with their own distinct sound. But obviously, you know where I'm going with this. If this were New Who, we'd be saying some things are fixed points, and the Time Lord can see fixed points. You can't prevent the massacre, and maybe from the Doctor's point of view, the death of the girl whose name I can't remember. But well, shall we just say Dorothy Chaplet's...
her name is Anne Chaplet.
Anne Chaplet, okay. The death of Anne Chaplet, a comparative irrelevance, and should we try to judge the Doctor by human morality, given that he is well, they haven't said Time Lord yet, but judging by that speech, even his own granddaughter Susan didn't really understand. In a way, actually, that makes this serial kind of a defining moment in the history of Doctor Who, I suppose. Well, I'll go round. Coqui, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was half expecting like some sort of turn of events that the girl turns out to have been in the TARDIS the whole time, and avoided like being destroyed. Which I don't know, I might have thought was corny, but it was a prediction I made. But yeah,
well, they'd already done that with Stephen. They couldn't.
Yeah.
I did, when Stephen left, I did like the Doctor's introspective moment. I wasn't expecting a new companion. I was like, so is the Doctor going to be on his own next serial? And yeah, not only does he get Stephen back, but he completely disregards another person's life as well. But this time she's totally okay with it, so...
Yeah, yes. And, right, so Jackie Lane, who is supposed to be Anne's great-great-granddaughter, something like that, coincidentally comes on board to be the new companion. So I think somebody... I think, what was the expression you were using a while? I think it was last week, James. Bacon, grease, and spit.
Yeah, spit and bacon grease. Yes.
Yeah. So okay, we won't do the corny thing of Anne survives and happens to be on board the TARDIS. That's how she survives the massacre, or what have you. No. But we'll get the same actor to cut her hair a bit.
Oh.
And
no, I was just looking at it. I did originally think that Anne and great-great-great-great-granddaughter were played by the same woman, but no.
They're not?
No.
Okay.
So I did originally suspect that, but no, it's not simply that. Oh no, we want a swinging 60s chick to appeal to the teenagers. Moffat. So shake Coqui.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I had to. It's raining, so I was closing my windows.
But yes. It wasn't simply that they just gave the actress a haircut. No, they did bring in another actress, and for reasons known only to the voices inside their heads.
It's very curious, actually, because the documentary messes this up. Because supposedly Jackie Lane is the... I do know my facts on companions. Jackie Lane is the actor who plays Dodo, a.k.a. Dorothy Chaplet. Yes, why she had to be the descendant of Anne when it's not the same actor, I don't know, and why are you deliberately writing in a needless, stupid coincidence? And
it's to not relieve the Doctor's guilt, but so that Stephen will forgive him. That yes, this is proof that Anne survived, got married, and had children.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought that would have been obvious. That
it's removing the moral question
I
mark.
kind of got that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, removing moral question mark from narrative. Okay. Yes, although Stephen didn't know that when he initially returned, and also...
he returned because he was being chased by the police, but I do believe, though, that was a serious cop-out. That, yes, as you will see over the course of the future decades... future serials, future eras, future decades, Coqui. The number one... no Moffat, but no.
No, he means classic series.
I thought when you said Coqui, you were asking me to shake the jar, but okay.
Okay.
As you will see, Coqui, the number one reason why companions leave is because they can't handle the death. That they are just sick and tired of leaving people to die, of causing people's death, etc. And after the Dalek master plan, especially, Stephen was just so traumatized, and even if he couldn't save the people, even if he couldn't save the Admiral, even if he couldn't save the people of the Huguenots of Paris, maybe he could have saved Anne. But no, the Doctor left her behind. Worse than leaving her behind, sent her to her death, so he believed. So yes, the next place this machine stops, I'm getting off. If your researchers have so little regard for human life, I want no part of them. That was a great scene. The walkout followed by the deeply introspective speech, because, leaving aside the fact that... leaving aside the whole fixed points, timey-wimey, we can interfere with this part of history, but not that part.
Yeah.
If we assume for a moment that the Doctor does have a strong ethical prime directive, to borrow a term from Star Trek, that he cannot interfere with time, that he had to leave her behind to die. That, as you were saying, that we can't judge him by human morality when the entire course of human history is in their hands. Yes, as Coqui said, that would have been great. That it was really setting it up for Stephen to be gone, and the Doctor to be alone in the next serial, and maybe to meet his next companion a little further down the road. But instead, that someone somewhere didn't like the moral question mark hanging over leaving Anne to die, so they said, no. We'll write in a girl suddenly running into the police box because, yes, when a little boy is injured, you call the police, not an ambulance. I suppose we could have called for an ambulance as well, but...
Well, the doctor mentions an ambulance.
Yeah, but still...
So that's what I don't get. Is Stephen suspected of harming the boy, and why is the injured boy completely scrapped when the TARDIS takes off?
Again,
I thought that was weird too. It hadn't occurred to me that Stephen might have hurt the boy though.
No, as I say, the entire ending of that serial was pulled out of somebody's arse at the last minute.
And we didn't even get Ian and Barbara.
No.
So
again, everything up to and including the Doctor's speech, spot on, absolutely perfect. Stephen coming back into the TARDIS, discovering that Dodo is the great granddaughter of Anne for no other reason than to remove the question mark. So now the Doctor is forgiven.
Yeah.
You left her behind to die, and she didn't die. She somehow miraculously managed to survive. Oh, you spectacular hero, you.
If the Doctor just knows that que sera, sera, whatever will be,
yeah.
I guess that makes sense. Stephen didn't understand that the Doctor can see these things in history, I suppose. Another inconsistency is, it was a really big deal when Ian and Barbara, forced their way onto the ship in the first episode. And Dodo's entrance onto the TARDIS is treated very casually by the Doctor and by the show.
Yeah. Because by this point, new people coming onto the TARDIS treating it like Grand Central Station seems to be the norm.
Well, let the two coppers become companions. That would have been fun. Let's disrupt everyone's life. But I will say that when they were arguing over that girl's life, I was pretty much shouting at my monitor, "Hey, you remember that machine that you have that can look at her and see how things are going?"
Oh yeah, that's true. They have the time-space visualizer to check these things.
No, they don't, because it was created solely and entirely for the chase. It is never even mentioned or...
Who? Excuse me. Who was the Doctor wishing a happy Christmas to then? The Doctor didn't just go mad. He's thinking of all the people who happen to be during Christmas Day watching him on the time-space visualizer. Everyone knows that.
Oh, of course.
So anyway, hopefully returning to some sanity. I'm just gonna say, I think this is a historical where, if it existed, and possibly I would judge it less harshly if I'd grown up with it as a serial, which is one of those things. I want to respect the writing of this, particularly as we won't get John Lucerotti again, and it maybe warrants a second viewing. So I don't want to hate on this in general terms, and we should probably treasure the pure historicals while we still get them, because there aren't very many to go. In fact, there might only be one more.
Oh no, I know exactly when the historicals end, and it's a fair way. It's into the Troughton era.
I was thinking that, but no, you're right. It's just that the next pure historical we get, yeah. And the tragedy is that one exists.
Yes, in its entirety.
There is no God.
Or there is a God. Or there is a
anticipating
God,
that.
and he hates us.
Yeah. Sorry, Coqui?
No, the thing is, like, you've been building me up. I've been anticipating this for a while, and I'm just wondering, like, what could this possibly be? That kind of cry.
Well, I think to be fair, the Christmas episodes weren't as bad in your estimation as we thought. You were anticipating a Dalek Santa Claus, which obviously they didn't quite do that. When it comes to the worst historical Doctor Who has ever done, which is also the worst thing that mankind has ever done. Alright, that's a slight exaggeration. I'm overlooking a couple of naughty things done by men like Stalin and Hitler when I say that. But although actually, not everyone hates it, but it's not the next serial, but it's coming really soon. And Whovians listening will know what we're describing, and to be honest, the serial in question might be so bad that I've not even seen it all the way through. I can't remember.
I've seen it all the way through once. Never again.
Oh, okay, so you've skipped that going through Doctor Who the second time.
Oh, yes.
And if you do watch it a second time because of me, you have my sincere... In fact, when we get to that podcast, I'm only going to just apologise repeatedly throughout.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to...
And I'm just going to be screaming, "Why, God? Why? Why?
I'm only thinking about Higurashi, an anime which I'm sure neither of you have seen. But if anyone gets the reference, leave a comment.
Okay. Is that like the worst anime in history?
No. Higurashi, I actually like that anime a lot. It's just that in every arc, they have a character who at some point goes, "Gomenasai, gomenasai, gomenasai," over and over and over again, saying they're sorry over and over and over again.
Oh, okay. But yes, I think...
comment now, Higurashi fans.
But no, I think... Actually, another new series reference. I think a David Tennant's "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry" is actually warranted. We need actually that we need to get that meme for that podcast. We literally need David Tennant's sincere face.
If I get a jar.
Well, if there's a new series jar, that's warranted, but it's not Moffat.
Oh, okay. So I need to get another jar for new series entirely. Why not rename the Moffat jar?
What, just rename the Moffat jar new series jar?
Yes, that way.
Okay. So I'm going to be as big a offender as you, James, now.
Well, it's all for a good cause.
It is. So, okay. Shall we go to... actually, shall I just open up the floor if anyone wants to throw anything out there?
Basically, what this historical has in spades, which raises it above other historicals for me, other serials in general, is the intrigue, is the political conspiracy. The fact that it's not just it's not just a history lesson about this happened and then this happened and then that happened. That we actually see and understand the people. The way, for example, in King Charles's court, when the Marshal and the Admiral are arguing constantly over whether or not to enter war, to to declare war on Spain, on the Spanish Empire, in alliance with the Dutch. Excuse me. Yes, it's just the same argument over and over again because because the admiral is a Huguenot and the marshal is a Catholic. That's it. You're just thinking, damn, this is every YouTube debate ever that just will not end. And finally the king, I am sick of this bickering, can we talk about something else? But yes, you can see the humanity involved. The fact that the Queen Mother, for example, she doesn't give a damn about the religious issues at the end of the day. All she cares about is her own power. She is the power behind the throne, and she is terrified that the Huguenots will weaken her power. Same with the abbot, played by William Hartnell as well.
That's how Hartnell was credited for that episode.
Exactly. So the underlying points when it comes to all religious schisms, etc., religious conflicts, and what have you, it's not about rights, it's not about beliefs, it's not about faith, it's not about dogma, it's about power. The people in power wanting to keep hold of it, and the people who don't have power wanting to take it. Or rather, the people in power being afraid that the other side is going to take it.
And I guess, of course, another curious thing which I find very hard to relate to, the idea that if a Catholic marries a Protestant, yes, that they did this with nations as well, of course, that a marriage is supposed to tie people together and what have you.
Yes, again, it's very much something that died in the 19th century. This concept of union through marriage, that it wasn't simply the union of two people, it was the union of two nations, two beliefs. But as we saw at the end of the end of the serial, when the Queen Mother is organising the massacre, and that instead of a list of Huguenots who she wants to have killed, she is just unleashing the mob and slaughtering every Huguenot in Paris. All she cares about is her paranoid fear that now that a Protestant is married to her daughter, that all the Protestants have to do is assassinate them, and France will have a Protestant king.
Something I didn't understand. If Charles had still been a child, and apparently by this point he was 22, why is the Queen Mother still regent?
She's not officially regent, but she still wields the power. She is the power behind the throne. Okay. Yeah, the Admiral at one point talks about how Charles still fears his mother. One of the rare... when Charles shouts at his mother after the assassination attempt, mind your tongue, have a care, unless you want to end your days in a convent. If only you had the courage, my son. Go, call your guards. Because, and again, the king confronts her. You and Marshal Tavernier organised this assassination, didn't you? Yes. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do about it?
From a Freudian perspective, do you think that Charles would have been very dangerous without his mother?
Again, we're purely we're looking at a recreation.
But I'm just thinking, a 22-year-old that dominated by their mother, Oedipus.
Yes. Again, but
But yeah, psychoanalyze. Well, that's taking posthumous diagnosis to an extreme.
Oh yes, we're not even doing posthumous diagnosis. We're posthumously diagnosing a fictional recreation.
Well, yes, but with quite a lot of truth. But Coqui, sorry, we lost you for a bit, and but glad to see you back. Hello.
Hello, good to still be here.
Okay. Do you have anything to add before we go to final thoughts and goodbye?
No, I can't really think of anything.
Okay, well, final thoughts and goodbye. I might have enjoyed this more if it had been live action. I believe the next 2 serials actually exist, but the next one definitely does, and that's an enjoyable one, which I'll name in a second. So, in the meantime, then, without further ado, Coqui, your final thought and goodbye.
Well, may the hamster be with you.
Okay, and you, James?
If you don't like this cereal, then you're wrong, and the smelly face, and I don't like you. No, seriously, do give it a chance. I do understand how it would be difficult to follow on the first run-through, so I do encourage you, Alex, to watch it again. I also had difficulty following all of the intrigue, especially because it's reconstructed. It's sometimes difficult to follow the conversations. But yes, of the 3 Luca Rotti historicals, Marco Polo, the Aztecs, and the Sea Beggar are, in my opinion, 3 of the greatest historicals, full stop. I genuinely hope that they do find the live episodes so that more people will hopefully be able to get into this serial. And yes, may the great holy donkey bless your house for 7 generations. Until the new, so that the new companion can suddenly appear on the TARDIS just to erase a moral question mark.
Well, let's give Dodo a chance in the next serial.
Indeed.
See what she does. And it does occur to me actually that we all agreed that Marco Polo was really good, even though it's 6 reconstructed episodes. I am thinking, I suppose, and Coqui talked about a sense of wonder on that one. And since then, the reconstructed historicals have been very much political intrigue. And maybe political intrigue is very difficult to handle when you've just got basically a slideshow with a soundtrack. But unfortunately, there are more reconstructions to come. But the next serial, which isn't an historical, it's more science fiction, does exist in full. So, next episode, The Ark.